Join me and follow the podcast Conspiracy Theories, where we explore what's really going on behind the official narrative. Like, what if the Loch Ness Monster isn't a monster at all, but an elephant? What do the richest 1% know that we don't? And why are they building all those bunkers? And really, what the heck is going on with the Denver airport? Join me every week to see just how high up this goes on the Spotify podcast Conspiracy Theories. Listen on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Cryptonaut podcast. I am Mark Storrs, and hanging out with me as always is
Rob Morphy
and
Krauts.
I'm going to.
Yeah,
Nice. I like the little ending part.
No, that wasn't even on purpose. That was just
the whisper fun.
I do
also
like,
not being able to
I do
talk.
like the whispers. I'm going to apologize ahead of time to everyone out there for my voice. My sinuses have blown up because apparently it was nice out and now it's cold out, and my sinuses exploded with joy and celebration for the local town children. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a celebration.
Ye old town kids.
Yeah, it's how they celebrate. They fucking smash my sinuses.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's awesome. But you know what? We're just gonna fucking truck through and do it because, son of a bitch, we made it. We thought this was going to be maybe a 7-parter, possible 8-parter, but no, we only got a 3-parter out of this one.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty stoked. Jailbreak, Area 51, Part 3, Alien Aftermath.
That's the ticket.
Oh,
yep. This could have been a 4-parter, easy peasy, but you know what this is? A beast instead.
Oh, wow.
It's a little bit of a reader, but you know what? We're going to get through this.
Okay.
We're going to get through this. I'm feeling pretty good.
I mean, we're wrapping it up. We're bringing everything around here. We've been on quite the journey so far. And let me tell you, this Richard Doty guy, not a big fucking fan.
That's fair. Yeah.
Well,
no, as a fellow in the trenches, I'm agreeing with that assertion. But I will say that this is not going to be our last visitation with the quadriloids.
Oh, there's more.
There will be more, and they are both fascinating cases, both of which originally I intended to put into the body of this. But you know what? No. This is this story. This is the incident at Silverbow saga.
Right.
No other. We will dip into them at some point when I'm ready to fucking revisit this nightmare.
No, yeah.
Fascinating though these cases are.
Let it rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to tuck it in.
Put it in cryostasis
it's
for an
like
undetermined amount of time.
It's like a nice brisket or a lasagna.
Yes.
Let it rest.
It ages.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sauce, you know,
you got
better the next day.
You can't make a lasagna, take it out and eat it immediately.
Oh my God.
What kind of animal are you?
Heathens.
Yeah. Let that thing sit.
Though I've done it plenty of times.
Give it a
Well,
couple.
yeah, I mean, that's what you do.
I mean, that's what you
Make
do.
a
Gotta
lasagna,
give
then
it a
you
couple
eat
of days.
It's better. It's better. Yeah. Well, that's why you make enough to have leftovers so that you gorge yourself that first day like an asshole animal.
Yes.
But then you've got the goods for later when you know it's going to like just settle in its own juices and spices and become the deliciousness it was always meant to become.
Excellent. Well, without further ado, I'm going to attempt this with my awesome narrator voice.
Oh, I can't wait.
And I apologize ahead of time. We'll see what happens. Let's get started with, after a hostile alien escaped from Area 51's allegedly impenetrable S-2 Annex, the military, police, and elite search and containment units were put on red alert. While these teams were in pursuit of the insidious insectoid, a pair of OSI agents were hot on their trail, doing their best to cover up the enigmatic events as they happened. All the while, tragedy waited in the wings.
You know what? This is the first intro I think I've ever written. And by the way, you did bang up there. Well done, Mark. Where it was like a scrawl on a classic Star Wars film. Where you have,
where it's
like,
coming down.
Where it's only like everything that's happening and then a ... all the while or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but that's what's necessitated by this moment.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we're here. We're doing a part 3, Jailbreak Area 51, Alien Aftermath.
Mm-hmm. I know, and this is going to be a little caveat I'm just throwing in there. that with the frequent time and character shifts, this account is rapidly threatening to become the pulp fiction of paranormal cases. But even though we left off last episode with an on-base military police officer witnessing the murder of a father and husband named George, which we've covered ad infinitum at this point, we are now going to step back to the Quataloid's escape and the immediate clampdown that ensued. So we're going to, again, as we deal with different sets of situation and different people involved, we're going to rewind back to earlier in the day. On the morning of August 11th, 1984, the wail of an alarm at Area 51's S-2 Annex near Papoose Lake alerted the scientists, security teams, and maintenance workers stationed inside and out of the highly secretive underground complex that the unthinkable had occurred. Something had managed to escape from one of the most secure facilities on the planet, a quote-unquote containment unit known as Site Alpha or Site 5, depending on the sources, that then housed between 12 and 15 of what were referred to as visitors, but what were in actuality extraterrestrial prisoners, most of whom had been captured following the crashes that had killed off most of their crew members. So lonely survivors of horrific crashes being incarcerated against their will.
Yeah.
Big fun.
America.
This alarm triggered an array of responses, including the lockdown of the already breached S-2 Annex and the activation of not only the highly trained yet standard issue, and I mean that with all due respect, military police, but also a pair of parallel search and containment units based at the Nellis test range, both of whom were very aware of Site Alpha and their enigmatic entities, and the enigmatic entities that were contained therein. The Amber Sun team, whose primary focus was the capture of ET tech and by default any accompanying survivors or carcasses, and the secretive S-Star squad, who it would seem were tasked with tracking and capturing any escaped ETs, be it escaping from the crash site or apparently the prison that they had built for them. So I'm not 100% sure, but this is implied in how he described them over the course of a myriad of interviews. This is what I think their specific designations were: Amber Sun and S-Star.
Yeah. S-Star's a Super Sentai team.
I mean, my God.
Just
get
out of here.
I mean, unbelievable.
It clearly is.
I mean, it's a TV show waiting to happen. While receiving their respective briefings, the individuals in these separate yet equally elite units, who were in all likelihood very competitive with one another, instantly appreciated that this would be one of their tougher assignments, as the creature that had somehow managed to violate the prolific security measures at Site Alpha was the very worst of the bunch. A cunning and extremely dangerous bug-like beast with a wide array of defensive and offensive weapons, known as a quataloid.
Not a quantaloid.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Quada.
Bush League.
Quadaloid.
Quada.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Quadas, as we're going to codename. No, we're not.
Yeah, quadaloid's totally cool.
Quad.
Yeah. Quad.
Part of
dude,
the quad.
Quad, yeah, dude.
Oh, man. I
Hell
like
yeah.
it.
But there's
All right.
different quads, right?
Yeah, there's trantaloids.
Dude,
Yeah, oh, there's
Trantaloid.
Trez.
Yeah, dude.
So there's the overarching quataloid,
Yeah.
which implies mantis-esque, but they are a biologically engineered species from within.
Yep.
And maybe from without. Maybe they were created from something else to begin with, and then on their own accord, sort of Dalek-esque.
Yeah.
And there's lots of shit. And I've even found, thanks to, our fucking always excellent man on the scene, Cole Harold,
Hell yeah, Cole.
a clip from Linda Moulton Howe's Earth Files that describes the trontaloids, not a version of quataloids, exactly where they're from and exactly what their agenda is. And that we're tabling that for now.
No, again,
it is a whole super
Cryostasis.
duper shit show that would make a fucking awesome
We're
miniseries,
going to save this.
but
Yep.
that's not applicable to this account.
So we're going to save this for the future.
Yep, absolutely.
There you go.
All right. As we've discussed in previous installments, these vexatious vermin were far and away the most lethal of any that had, at least until that point, visited Earth. And even though all of the things built-in weapons may not apply to this specific case, though they will be featured in future episodes, we'll be exploring the verisimilitude, I guess, of their abilities so as to point a full portrait, as full a portrait of the quataloid as possible. So I know I've been hinting at it, and I thought I would drop them in at the appropriate place when I thought we were going to cover all their shit. We're not going to, but I'm still going to tell you all the shit that we know about these things based on what Doty claims to have known. Okay. First, as we already know, when quataloids are killed, their body instantly begins to decay, releasing a toxic vapor that is deadly to any known organism exposed to it. So any life form on Earth that we know of. Second, these beings can change their shape, growing bigger in times of stress in what is likely a classic example of diematic behavior or startle display, wherein an animal attempts to make itself look larger in order to fool a predator by appearing more threatening than it actually is, though these fuckers are amply threatening. But just the puffing up thing that prey does to, so we know. Third, and most alarming, and we definitely hinted at this, quataloids are equipped with sacs in their forearms filled with an acid-like substance that they can spray at prospective assailants, resulting in the total liquefaction of any life forms who fall within range.
What?
Yeah.
They got acid sacs.
They got
in their
acid sacs that they can shoot like, I guess, Iron Man and his repulsor beam.
Yeah, or like Spidey.
But like Spidey. Better Spidey, because
yeah.
it comes right out of the wrists, I'm assuming.
That's...
Maybe forearms. I don't know. But when that hits you, fucksville.
I mean, kind of cool, super useful. And
sure.
If you make it yourself, it's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Again, if they ever made the S-2 Annex playset and you got the quataloid figure.
I know what you're thinking. It's like a weird jizz. It's really like a weird jizz.
No. So I always think this when you see a monster that has like shoot venom or acid, I'm like, does it hurt you? Like, do you actually jump someone in your fucking toe? You're like, fuck.
Oh, that's
like,
interesting.
do you always got to pay attention?
You know what?
I feel like
I never really thought about that.
Because you're right. Is the part
fucking
where
acid.
It sprays? Yeah. Is that part equipped to like deal with it, but no other part of your body? And if
they're storing it in their body, they must be like just immune to it.
I mean, that would make sense in terms of venom.
Yeah,
but we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
So Chris's query is valid.
It's interesting.
As if these physical attributes weren't frightening enough, quataloids, according to Doty, also possess a range of psionic powers, including the ability to manipulate or even shut down electromagnetic fields, which may have led directly to the unexplained opening of the vault and the subsequent escape from the S-2 Annex by said quataloid. Though the use of psychic skills, through the use of psychic skills in alien tech, these things were also able to become invisible, or through the use of what was referred to as hollow forms. I don't know why I just said that with a Yiddish hawk. It's my fucking voice. A word that seems to have originated, by the way, with the Transformers fucking universe. And I've never heard it anywhere else, but whatever. They are able to, through the use of both their psychic skills and tech that they have, imitate the appearance of a human being, something I was not familiar with before, though anything coming into physical contact with the cloaked creature would likely rue the day, because it's just a hologram. So if you touch it and you feel like some bony, like bug-like shit, it's going to fuck you up probably.
You're going to get sacked.
You're going to get sacked.
Yeah, acid sack, dude. That's how they get you.
No bueno.
No. Weird.
Ha! But while these various search teams fruitlessly scoured vast swaths of the Nevada scrub near the highly classified restricted military installation known as the Tonopah Test Range, designated Area 52 for those in the know, so it's not the one in Utah. That might be Area 53 or something. This is Area 52. Looking for the escaped prisoner, Air Force Office of Special Investigations Officer Richard Doty and his partner, Agent Harrison, were doing their best to quell any rumors that kept popping up around the base regarding a quote-unquote monster on the loose. They'd been tasked with that mission early that morning while enjoying coffee at the OSI offices in Building 435, after which Doty had been given a crash course in the existence and abilities of quataloids. But now, after hours of chasing their tails under the scorching desert sun, Doty and his partner had decided to call it a day. So they're going around, they're trying to tamp down on the rumors. They're not actively a part of the search and capture,
right?
But they're investigating how it happened and putting a stop to any bullshit surrounding it that people are talking about. The men went back to their assigned barracks, retired to their rooms, and crawled into bed, probably hoping to snag a few precious hours of sleep before diving back into the job at dawn. As he drifted off, Doty likely prayed that the monstrous mantis would remain on base and that no one else would be hurt. As we already know, he would be disappointed on both counts. In a video made for YouTube's UAMN TV on July 26th, 2024, titled Escaped Alien Convict, the Area 51 Incident, Doty claimed, quote, "On that particular evening, I was awoken by the Operations Command Post at Groom Lake and informed that an incident had happened and that OSI was requested at the scene. So I got up and got into my clothes," end quote. Though he wasn't told what the issue was over the phone, there was every reason to assume that Doty knew the source of the problem was going to be the roaming quadriloid. Now dressed, the agent dashed across the corridor and banged on his partner Harrison's door. Quote, "We always utilize a two-man concept, meaning I went to the door of my partner's room and knocked on the door and told him, 'Get up, let's go, we gotta go out,'" end quote. When they arrived at the security police building, Doty and Harrison were told that the visitor had been spotted, but in what smells like a classic example of bureaucratic inefficiency, they weren't informed exactly where. So the partners proceeded directly to the OSI offices, where they grabbed a cup of joe and waited for the, quote, "command post to notify us to respond to wherever we were supposed to respond to." We were then advised that the situation had taken place near Silverbow and that there was somebody dead, end quote. They were given the addendum that the creature, for reasons no one could fathom, had returned to the test range, dragging the corpse behind it. It was there that the good old-fashioned military police, and not the fancy pants S-Star team or Amber Sun team, had the thing cornered. The OSI agents shot out of the office and, still having no idea who'd been killed by the quadriloid or how they were dispatched, rushed to the scene. Once there, the OSI officers were confronted by a haunting sight. A human being who, just hours before, had been a vibrant, loving husband and father, enjoying a carefree night of cooking out and camping with his family, now nothing more than a mangled pile of barely recognizable pieces. On the desert floor, not far from the mutilated chunks of George's still glistening corpse, was a tarp. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's evocative.
Yeah, dude.
But you got to paint the picture.
Mutilated chunks and glistening corpses.
I mean, I'm also a Lucio Fulci fan.
Yeah, I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
But goddamn.
Yeah, Cannibal Corpse, buddy.
Yeah.
You got to paint the picture. All right.
Butcher by a quadriloid, yeah.
All right, so next to this fucking glistening pile was a tarp that barely covered a large mass with what appeared to be large, insect-like appendages poking out the side. It seemed that, seeing the bloody mess it had made of the civilian, the lieutenant in charge of the unit had made the decision to forego the dangerous procedures involved with recapturing the creature and decided that their best course of action was to simply neutralize it. Not that I blame them. I mean, at this point,
as dangerous as these things are, and like the capabilities and weapons and sacks of acid, you don't got much of a choice, man.
I mean, they had
You
the
can't
equipment.
reason with it.
You can't reason with it.
No.
As aforementioned, they hadn't established how to communicate with the quadriloids at this point.
Even if you could.
But they could have
I don't know if
captured
you
it.
can.
And I'm still not entirely sure that the lieutenant commanded them to kill, or if a trigger-happy officer, police officer under his command was like just seeing the pile of George and was like, fuck this, fuck.
Yeah,
and just went, "Pop, pop, pop,
right.
pop," and then everyone went. And then next thing you know, fuck.
You know, I mean.
Or maybe it was like a surgical strike. I don't fucking know. Wasn't there. But that's what happened.
All right.
Yeah. Doty and Harrison exited their vehicle, flashed their ID badges, and approached the inhuman remains. But before they got too close, one of the military police stopped the agents, warning them that the fumes this thing gave off were deadly. And even though Doty had just been briefed on it, he obviously wasn't thinking. He was in the moment. So he saved his life, basically. He then handed them both gas masks. Donning the masks, Doty stepped closer to the deceased quadriloid and peeled back the tarp, revealing its oddly distended head. He later told UAMN TV's camera that, quote, it looked like a praying mantis. It looked like a praying mantis, a 7-foot-tall mantis with a cape and a weird-looking face, end quote, implying, this is my words, pretty effectively, that this was the mantis-bodied, distended, gill-faced, trantiloid variety of quadriloid. That's my assumption, but based on all the descriptions, is the best one I've got. At this point, Doty walked over to the pile of human debris that was what was left of George and checked it to see if he could find any signs that the body had been eaten. But he found no bite marks, just deep, flesh-rending lacerations. While Harrison was addressing other on-site duties, Doty then approached one of the military policemen and asked who had first spotted the thing. The man responsible was indicated. When questioned, the officer told Doty that he'd been positioned just outside the base perimeter in the northeast area of the Nellis Test and Training Range. So technically, I think within the base, but outside the base at Tonopah, but within the range itself. So inside the fence that George and his family had found
Gotcha.
earlier.
I don't know why they just fence off everything.
Yeah.
Just make sure, if you don't want people here, make sure people don't fucking go anywhere even close. Like,
agreed. Well, they do that a lot, though. They actually will constantly annex new parcels of land, and then like Area 51, generally, they just marked off 5 more miles.
Well, yeah.
I don't know how many years ago, not that many years ago,
Huh.
because people were able to get on ridges, and with the advancing tech and camera gear, they were able to see better.
Yeah.
So they said, oh, well, fuck you. 5 more miles of shit you can't see. And now you can only see a little bit of something from a special peak somewhere in the ass end of nowhere. So they do that. But at this point, mid-'80s, they probably weren't expecting an escape. The camera tech wasn't that
I
great.
just feel like you have a ghost town right there that's just asking people.
I know.
You know what I mean?
With literally...
You should have just nipped that shit in the bud.
The fence to Nellis Air Force going right through the fucking town.
Yeah, that's
it's
what I mean. You should have not even...
Right.
You're just asking for it.
100%. Especially because it's a known tourist site. 100% agreed. That's it's funny, but yes, absolutely. So again, when questioned, the officer told Doty that he'd been positioned just outside the base perimeter in the northeast area of the Nellis Test and Training Range when he spied a man packing a station wagon down near Silverbow. Though this was the first time that Doty had heard anything about what had transpired, for those of us familiar with Virginia's testimony, wherein her husband George never made it into the vehicle before he was attacked by the quadriloid, we now have to contend with the fact that the military policeman saw things differently. According to his perspective, the man had closed the hatchback and climbed behind the wheel when something outside the car caught his attention. That was when the soldier caught sight of the clawed creature standing some distance from the vehicle. Now, here's where things get weird. According to the officer, it was then that the man behind the wheel, instead of just hitting the gas and driving toward safety, suddenly and inexplicably jumped out of the station wagon. So I'm going to cite this now. On season 20, episode 9 of Gaia's Cosmic Disclosure, Doty described what the officer told him, saying, quote, now the only person that actually saw this was a military policeman who was in a civilian type of Jeep, a CJ7 Jeep, and he was closest to the perimeter. He saw what had happened. According to the young officer's testimony, the man, without provocation, jumped out of the station wagon and charged the nearly 7-foot-tall, claw-bearing creature, at which point the still, as an immobile, quadriloid, in what was evidently a self-defense posture, simply swung down at the lunging man, killing him with a single blow of his raptorial forelimb. According to what the policeman told Doty, the power of the strike was such that, quote, the human died instantly, end quote. The officer then watched in horror as the vehicle managed to take off with the massive monster in hot pursuit. After a few moments, however, the speedy thing gave up the chase and returned to George's body, at which point the quadriloid began dragging George's corpse not into one of the many old mine shafts where it could have found some semblance of sanctuary, but back into the range. It was then that, for reasons we can only guess at, the thing apparently chose to dismember the corpse. So, obviously a lot of differences in the accounts here. A lot. Between what Virginia said, where before George got in the car, he was attacked, he threw the keys in, pushed the thing away to try to save his family, and she took off. The part where the car takes off, all intact. The part where the quadriloid chases them, all intact. But him seeing this thing, choosing, after he'd already been like on edge about a convict having escaped and his family being in danger, choosing to confront a 7-foot-tall, beclawed fucking monster, that is anathema to me. I cannot imagine why. Especially with his kids in the fucking car.
Yeah, this thing's way bigger than you, and you just step hard to this where you're like, it's on.
When you're already safely in the car and can
rush this thing. I mean, that doesn't sound smart. It doesn't seem like something anybody would do.
No, it does not. But that's what the guy claims he saw.
It's probably like, that guy's badass. Like, holy shit.
Well, yeah. Or
a stupid attempt to avoid a lawsuit.
Or he's
a psionically powered. All right. So you're right. So
like they're trying to
George attacked the quadriloid, ergo the Air Force isn't responsible.
You can't sue us. Yeah.
Though of course they end up.
Don't worry about the quadriloid that dismembers people in the desert. That's not the bigger problem.
Help but to wonder if he was like psychically motivated to get out of the car.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Maybe.
Well, yeah. Anyway, he fucking died quick, fast. And I don't know why he chose to fucking cut it up. Who the fuck knows? Man. At that moment, and very likely to his eternal relief, the military policeman was joined by arriving jeeps containing his fellow officers, scientists, and a lieutenant who, being the ranking man on scene, took charge. The policeman at the scene quickly brought him up to speed on the situation at hand. The officer and his cohorts tracked the bellicose beast's progress, so they can see it from a distance and it's just coming towards them. But this was no lumbering costumed oaf from the Late Late Show. This was a very real and utterly unfathomable horror moving at incredible speeds. As it swiftly neared their position, the policemen, braced for confrontation. Doty explained the moment to UAMN TV, stating, quote, "The security police had a confrontation with the visitor. Now, there were procedures to try to capture this. They had netting and other devices that they could use to capture an escaped visitor. But because of the fact that it had just killed a human, the security police supervisor at the scene, a lieutenant, ordered his men to shoot the visitor, and they did." End quote. After jotting down the officer's testimony, Doty then turned his attention to one of the S-2 Annex supervisors who'd arrived at the scene. Less than thrilled that a dangerous organism had been unleashed on his watch, Doty, who worked in a special projects branch of the OSI codenamed PJ Bureau, as in like FBI Bureau, but PJ Bureau. I don't know what the PJ stands for. That developed and implemented security policies and procedures for compartmented special access programs, was one of the men to answer to when things went awry. And as such, quote, "I had a lot of questions for the officer who was responsible for maintaining the creature's containment area, but he was very hesitant about telling me everything. He said, 'It's dead. It was a visitor. It was in captivity. And that's about all you need to know.'" End quote.
Oh, okay.
So again, compartmentalized. Technically, Doty has not been read into this part. So even though he's in charge of this aspects of this PJ Bureau that implements security measures, this motherfucker doesn't need to tell him anything more than he wants to.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not saying any of this is true, but I have to admit the bureaucratic buffoonery does tend to lend truth to my ear.
Yeah.
But that's only because it's such a shit show in government, period.
Yeah, no matter what level you're working in, this bullshit happens constantly.
Right. Yeah, so, take it as it is, I guess. Knowing that he'd get nowhere with the Site Alpha rep, Doty refocused on the task at hand. Quote, "I noticed that there were shell casings, 5 or 6 shell casings around the area, the type of ammunition an M16 rifle would carry. The spent rounds were on the ground, and we had to photograph and mark where each round was and do a comparison to where the security policemen were shooting and so forth and so on. We did all that. It took us hours to do that. We took the photographs, and then we went to Silver Bow, which was outside the test and training range. So again, they had just gone to bed. They get the call. They go back to the office. They're sent out here. They have to do all this shit, and now they still have to go to Silver Bow, working on fucking fumes at this point.
Okay.
When Doty and Harrison arrived at the scene, that is in Silver Bow, they saw under the glare of their vehicle's headlights the blood-soaked stretch of dirt road where George had met his maker. Standing next to the still shimmering puddle, again, essential descriptors, not me being an old school horror film writer that fucking loves getting into the guts.
Shimmering puddle.
Shimmering puddle was a Nye County Sheriff's deputy as well as a Nevada gaming and fish officer, both of whom were working under the assumption that Virginia's husband had been the victim of a wild animal attack, presumably a mountain lion who dragged his body away for future consumption. Doty and his partner did nothing to disabuse them of this notion as they set about taking measurements, making sketches, marking splatter spots, and taking a series of crime scene photographs for their investigation. It was getting late now. Doty and Harrison had barely drifted off to sleep when the call came in from the Groom Lake Operations Command Post, but they knew that their work was far from over. Besides having reams of reports to fill out, they knew that with the rumor mill swirling into overdrive, they were going to have to find a cover story that would stick. But even more importantly, they would have to track down whoever was in the car that had made that panicky getaway and somehow convince them that the death of the man they left behind, who they saw murdered by a bipedal bug, had a perfectly rational explanation. I don't have much sympathy for Doty, but this cannot be a fun position to be in.
Well,
no, you got to start spinning some tails, friend.
Absitronically.
Yep.
Knowing there'd be no sleep for the rest of the night, the OSI agents, running again on lukewarm fucking coffee and fumes at this point, settled in for the long haul at Tonopah Base. Almost 4 hours would elapse before they got the call they were waiting for. In the same episode of Cosmic Disclosure, Doty talking to the uniquely dubbed Tim Tactical Advisor, as opposed to the other host, Emery Smith, that we talked about in the last episode.
Sweet.
Doty said, quote, "The police said that there was a lady claiming that some monster killed her husband near Silver Bow and the monster ran into the base. Well, we knew then what it was. We knew because we were trying to find this lady. We didn't know where she went. Well, we knew there was a vehicle. We didn't know then that there was a lady and children in the vehicle because the military police only saw the vehicle leave." End quote, which I guess is strangely consistent. So good. Check. Good green check for that one. Doty then described how Virginia, in her mad dash to escape the clawed clutches of the creature who had just murdered her husband, had no idea where she was going as she had not been the one to drive to the Silver Bow campsite and was unfamiliar with the area. Therefore, she had no idea where to go to get help. It is in this testimony to Cosmic Disclosure that we get one of ample diversions in Doty's various accounts. Previously, the former Master Sergeant had stated that the distraught mother had pulled up to a closed sheriff's office before making her way to the nearest phone booth in order to make what she hoped would be a rescue call for the husband she'd left behind. But when speaking to Tim, Doty insisted that Virginia drove in a blind panic until she came to the Warm Springs Bar and Grill about 60 miles away from Silver Bow. Once there, she ran inside, tears streaking down her cheeks, screaming at the top of her lungs that something had attacked her husband and that she needed to call the police. The nearest patrons ran to her aid while the bar staff wasted no time in calling the local authorities, who arrived promptly and began taking down her statement, compelling Doty to add, quote, "You can imagine a deputy sheriff listening to her try to explain what happened to her, that some kind of monster, and she was calling it a monster when I interviewed her. That's what killed her husband at Silver Bow." He continued, "Nye County Sheriff's deputies responded and spoke to her, and they were very, very sympathetic towards her, but they thought it was some animal. It was a mountain lion or something to that effect. Of course, the sheriff's deputies have no idea what's inside Area 51.
It's a very interesting shift in narrative.
Yeah.
From Doty.
It sure is. Like profound.
Yeah.
Like simple factual shifts. The kind of shifts that say people telling the truth don't ordinarily make. You can maybe slip up a little bit in the timeline. I get that.
Right.
But like
this is a
goes
whole
to the
new,
sheriff's office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of this testimony was done decades after the fact. So it's not like he was informed of new shit.
Right.
Likely. I mean, there is a chance, I suppose, he was. And then between one interview and the next, but then he would have addressed, I think, I before said this, but now I have new information has come to light and this is what I know to have happened. But he does not. So again, red flags ahoy.
Yep.
Red flags at dawn, mid-afternoon, brunch, evening.
Yeah.
Take it for what it is.
At the buffet, at the sailor bar.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Truly.
Red flags.
Truly. After the already detailed night of sorrow and needless rigmarole that finally brought Virginia and her kids to the Nye County Sheriff's Office in Tonopah, Doty, who in previous testimony claimed that he had not met Virginia until he and Agent Harrison had drove to her North Las Vegas home the following day, now told Tim that he and a new agent, presumably Harrison was too exhausted to continue, made their way to the sheriff's office to meet with the traumatized widow. Quote, by the time we got to her, she was at the town of Tonopah at the sheriff's department. Myself and another agent out of OSI Tonopah went to visit her, and she was hysterical. We had to eventually take her to the hospital here in Tonopah. The children were an age where they knew something had happened, but they were as confused as you could get, and we didn't want to interview the children before we interviewed the mother, end quote. So again, not driving home with her kids back to North Vegas. At this point, she's hospitalized, at least temporarily, before driving home. Now, it could be, again, an omission by an 80-year-old man, where he just forgot, oh yeah, we took her to the hospital, and then she got, like, I don't know, if she got treated in any way, tranquilizer, she should not be driving her kids home. But then again, it's 1985.
It's a weird change in story,
It's
though,
a weird
man.
change in story.
I mean, it's a big
Super.
missing. It's a big thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And these are just
then you have like the possibility that you could track down if she was in the hospital.
Right,
Just like
right,
when she
right.
goes
Well,
to
yes, there's records.
100%.
yeah, like when she goes to the bar and grill, like people would know that. They would
Mhm.
remember this happening. Like,
Yeah.
see? Goddamn disinformation agents, man.
I mean, shockingly, they're not reliable.
Yeah,
necessarily.
I mean, he's doing his job.
He's doing his job.
Yeah.
And these are just two of a plethora of inconsistencies, which we will be dealing with in addendum at some point.
Nice.
Which again doesn't mean that the core of the story isn't true,
Right.
but it, I mean, an unreliable narrator is
He is
very problematic.
He is unreliable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So soon after, with what one can only hope was a well-rested Agent Harrison in tow, and this gets us back onto the traditional timeline, Doty drove down to Vegas to interview Virginia and her kids, Billy and Denise. Quote, we went to her home in North Las Vegas and sat down with her and talked to her. We eventually interviewed the mother. We got the story. We interviewed the children. What do you tell them? We didn't want to tell her the truth. We, I think, convinced her that it was not a monster. It was a mutated animal. That's what we used. A mutated animal that had done it, and she saw it. She saw this entity, and it was very difficult for us to sit there with all of the people involved in this, trying to explain to her that her husband was killed by a mutated animal at Silverbow and ran back into the base. End quote.
A mutated animal, eh?
Mutated animal. I mean, I know it's not the mid-50s when that shit was running rampant.
Yeah.
I know we were more naive in the 80s. I was but a lad, but
Well,
you
sure.
were wee babies, but boy. I mean, I suppose no internet conspiracy shit was, I mean,
It was in books for sure.
It was in books,
Yeah.
but you had to be intrigued by it.
Yeah.
That was not mainstream. This is even before Whitley Strieber.
And I guess like mutants were in the pop culture, like nuclear shit. So
Sure.
people were probably like, oh, dude, there's fucking
I
mutant
don't know if it was in the
capybaras or whatever.
mainstream, but
Well, I mean,
like
you know,
nuclear stuff was, but was not like
yeah, but
Tox Avenger type shit. What the nuclear family parents were not worried about.
Generally speaking.
Very
I
true.
don't,
But,
I don't think.
but Mark's correct in the
True.
sense that they were at least in the popular fiction of that
Okay,
that
yeah,
people
I
had
guess,
grown up
yeah,
with
Yeah, sure.
in the 50s and 60s. So
Right.
it would be a concept that while the average person might not have believed in it, they would at least been familiar with it through a fictional context.
Yeah.
Again, it makes it still hard to believe that anyone would buy it.
I don't know. I mean, especially if she saw this thing.
Right.
Like,
well, and
7 foot tall mutated animal.
So
really?
Here's an interesting thing that she did pick apart.
Okay.
Despite her dejection, Virginia was on the ball enough to question why OSI agents were investigating an animal attack. Doty claimed, quote, number one, she was a very smart lady. She wondered, why is the government investigating something that the state of Nevada should be investigating? Which made sense to me. If it was an animal, why wouldn't the sheriff's department or the Nevada game and fish people responsible for animals be investigating this? Which is a tough question for me to answer, end quote. So he just sort of lets it trail there. We don't know anything more about the question and answer session. She maybe isn't questioning that an animal can mutate. She is certainly questioning why OSI agents from the Air Force are doing an investigation when that is definitely a game and fish and local constabulary issue.
She turned the tables on Doty.
Sure did.
Listen here, you lying bastard.
Of course, he didn't tell her any more of the truth.
Yeah, no, of course
He
not.
just kept lying and left.
You're like, oh yeah, the Air Force is here to investigate a mutant animal that killed my husband. Sure.
Right.
Mutant.
Yeah, mutant.
Meanwhile, I love that one. That's the perfect transition. Back on the base, the investigation was opening up doors that Doty never imagined he'd even get a glimpse behind. Again, from his cosmic disclosure interview with Tim, quote, after it had escaped, I was given access to Site Alpha because we had another one in captivity. Remember when the Quadaloid ship crashed in 1967 near Fallon, Nevada?
Yep.
One died, 2 were captured. One now has escaped, killed, and been killed itself. There's still one left. Just a little refresher in case people don't remember. So, yeah. So he was given access to the site. So I read about that particular species, and during that time period I had access to that particular type of species because we were concerned that if one escaped, maybe the other one would, and we had to figure out how it had escaped. And initially that investigative power was given to the military police that were guarding the facility, but then there were a lot of questions about whether they had the expertise. So we came in and we brought in some other experts some other people, experts in metallurgy and other areas of science, to determine how this particular creature got out of the facility, because it was a very, very secure facility with three different perimeters and a locking structure that was not supposed to be defeated by anyone. But somehow this particular species, the Quadaloid, got out. So we did go in there. During my time that I was in there investigating, I saw some other ETs, and I saw one that I would call a gray, a small looking one with large eyes, similar to a picture of EBA 1, who was with us between 1947 and 1952, well before my time, which we described at length last episode. Now, that's the only one I saw. But I did have access at some point to 5 different species that we either had there or have there at Area 51. So again, I mean, there's a little line there. I was given access to multiple species, but at this point, I guess maybe multiple, he means the Eben and the Quadaloid. At this point now, I'm like real hard on everything he says.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
because it's just like,
but I guess he could say he was given access to 2 of them, the Quadaloids, and he saw an Eben while he was there. So we'll table that for now. As far as crossing the I's and dotting the T's, Doty said, quote, after this incident, there's things that we had to cover up. And I use the term cover up not loosely, but in somewhat of a gross term for me now. Gross as in grody. I wish I hadn't, but there were a lot of people involved in this that weren't military. Well, there were military and there weren't. All the military policemen were involved, and there were, I think, maybe 20 some witnesses. There were teams like their own SWAT teams that were out there. Other people that were given limited information that had to be out there, like maintenance personnel, the civilian security force that guarded the base's outer perimeter. We had to be responsible for debriefing everybody that had any kind of access to this, not even counting the civilian law enforcement agencies that were involved in this, the Nye County Sheriff's deputies, the Nevada Highway Patrol troopers that were involved in it, the Nevada Game and Fish personnel that were involved, and of course, our information to them was disinformation. We didn't tell anyone the truth, end quote, which is probably one of the few very true things about this.
Yeah.
Of course they didn't.
So they've embarked on this disinformation campaign for a ridiculous amount of people
Oh, yeah.
who are going to be talking their asses off.
These people who were informed that there was either everything from an escaped human convict to an animal that is dangerous to maybe those that are vaguely familiar with the notion that visitors are being kept there.
Right.
A visitor, but not the specificity of it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's one of those things too where, I mean, especially back then, now, I mean, in a post-Grush world, in a post-Corbellian, fucking congressional debriefing kind of world.
In a Corbellian world in which
I cannot
we
stand
live.
for that.
I love that.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Elizondian realm, if you will.
You brought Lou and his dumb pictures into this.
Well, I mean, but you got to give him credit where it's due. He did start the fire that mainstreamed this.
If he would stop showing fake pictures,
I know.
not fake pictures.
He's getting fooled, I'm sure himself. Well, I don't know. I don't fucking know.
He's just showing pictures of shit saying that it's craft and it's clearly not.
Not correct.
12 chandeliers.
Yeah, dude, chandeliers in weird fields.
So
the name of my new song.
My point is, and I agree with you, that it's all problematic and you don't know where the deceit ends and the idiocy begins, or if the lines are blurred, or if it doesn't fucking matter. But nowadays people take this shit a lot more seriously. In the mid-'80s, you weren't going to get anyone to listen to you. Most people just said if you believe in UFOs, they didn't even believe that there were unidentified objects in the sky, much less aliens. They just didn't believe. Everything is accounted for. Somebody, and then there was still the illusion that the government, Papa Government had the overarching knowledge of everything, and you assume, I might not know. Somebody knows. Yeah. You're a fucking idiot if you think it's fucking little green men. Back to those old tropes. So nowadays you can see where, you might be able to get away with some of this shit. Back then, you were going to shut the fuck up. If you were a maintenance worker at Area 51 and that was your livelihood, and you had signed all kinds of NDAs, and you certainly knew corpses disappear quick in the high desert.
Yeah.
You aren't going to fuck around.
We're a chatty bunch. As a maintenance worker, we gossip and chat all the time.
I'm sure amongst themselves.
Yeah. In the group, sure.
Just the two of us.
Yeah.
We're little gossip queens.
I love it. I love it. All right. So anyway.
That is a large...
It's a ton of fucking people
that
you
really
shut the fuck up.
That you really have to get them to be convinced enough to not even think outside the box for this thing. I mean, I'm sure some of them witnessed it,
Sure.
So, plenty of them did.
Oh, the military police. One witnessed the murder of George, but the rest of them were there for the killing of the fucking creature.
Well, yeah.
It's a lot, man.
Yeah. So lots of people.
For sure.
Quote, the investigation lasted over a period of several months, I think probably into the early part of December of 1985, recalling, if you might, to his background information, that's when Doty left Area 51, according to his own testimony. Then, he continued, we took all this information and went back and did a detailed report of what we did and the fact that the incident had occurred, not sure exactly how this was going to be received by the people we had to brief. The base commander, for example. The report was finalized after we got autopsy results and other things back. We sent the case to our headquarters in our PJ Bureau, and that's where the case is today. In terms of the changes, Doty continued, made in the wake of his report, quote, I think now the S-STAR team has modernized its approach. They have psychologists and clairvoyant people, paranormal people who immediately will try to communicate in a different way, other than vocal. So we have learned our lesson, and we do have some different specialties on the S-STAR team nowadays, end quote. So it's a little tantalizing tidbit, but it would make sense. You have to upgrade shit.
Psionics, dude.
Yeah, you got it. If you can't talk to, and oh God, what was the name of the guy? Oh my God, I can see him. He died recently. He was a corporal in the Army, but he claims he was recruited young to be a, I guess what we call a psionic asset today, but he psychically communicated with aliens. And he's been interviewed. Oh, ad infinitum. God damn it. I wish I could remember. He was just like overweight, older, bald, fucking just telling a story.
Huh.
Told it to everybody. It doesn't matter. If you remember it, somebody, I don't know, write it in a comment somewhere.
I mean, I
But-
think we all know who was here.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was Uri Geller.
Oh, yeah,
He had
of
the
course.
spoon. He had all the spoons out.
All the spoons out.
Bending them all. They're like, well, I can do quite a lot.
Bending them, I'm bending them, bending
Yep.
them, I'm bending
Exactly.
David Copperfield.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
they're like, Earth sucks. Why the fuck do we come here? All they do is bend spoons. This shit's dumb.
them. This sucks. This sucks.
Planet sucks.
Yeah.
You deserve everything you're getting, Earth.
Wow.
Yeah.
There is a part, and we don't have time to get into it, but Doty did in 2008, I think, and in 2019, try to get FOIA reports to get his report so he could go public with all the specificity.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And this is hundreds of pages, he
Right.
said, or at least well over 100. And the first he got back, Dick, all redacted. And then he tried a second time and he got back 34 pages, partially redacted, wherein most of the story existed. But then when he tried again, he was told that this has been properly classified, ergo you have no access to any of it. So he called the base. He's like, OSI offices. He's like, why can't I get this? I already got 34 pages. And they're like, hey, I'm just like a proctor of the OSI. I can't tell you. So he asked to have somebody higher up call him back. And lo and behold, about a week later, somebody did. And that conversation's really interesting. Maybe I'll detail it in a later episode, but I'll just give you the gist of it here. It was a guy that worked there. He was a junior officer at the time. Now he was high up. He was an OSI officer who had never left the military, unlike Doty, who had left the military and came back as a civilian OSI officer. And he was basically saying, this is your report. Why do you want it? He's like, I want to be able to share it. They're like, you know you can't do that,
Yeah,
man.
come on. What are you really?
What the fuck
like,
are you even
fucking
trying to do?
serious?
It's like, I want to tell people about it. And they're like,
Yeah, the
well,
guy's
fucking
like,
good,
fucking no, asshole.
good luck with that, bro.
Why would you
real-
even say that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah,
Like they're going to say, oh,
seriously.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you
Here's
wanna do it?
everything. Here's all the secrets. Go, here
We'll give you a quadaloid head to bring with you.
Sure.
Like, it's so fucking dumb.
Right.
Agreed.
Here's
a
weird
weird-
DNA. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Fucking
Yeah, he was
bizarre.
super miffed about
for being
that,
a,
allegedly.
for being a disinformation agent. That's a dumb move.
Yeah, you'd think.
It's a super stupid move.
Like, so naive.
Wouldn't you like dance around it, come up with some kind of thing? You know,
Like, what can, I mean, we can talk about it as a convict,
reliving
but
the
let's,
old days.
yeah,
trying to
try to
get back-
buddy up.
Trying to get back to my roots of, like disinformation. Like, it's just so stupid. I just want it for what? To put it out. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Okey-doke.
fucking no.
I want to expose everything.
yeah, fucking no,
Hey,
Richard.
can I
here,
burn
sure,
it from top down? Is it cool?
Yeah, fucking no, Richard. That's the
Yes.
name of his book.
No doubt.
There you
Fucking
go.
no, Richard.
Fucking no, Richard.
Oh my God. So,
Jesus.
as we discussed in the first episode of this series, after hitting dead end after dead end, Virginia realized that she was getting nowhere with her dogged pursuit to wring the truth out of the OSI about her husband's death. It was at this point that she was offered a settlement by the Air Force, read bribe, of $105,000 if she just let the whole thing go and sign a non-disclosure agreement. Realizing that she had 2 children now to raise on her own and that her endless crusade was taking a toll on her family's ability to heal, Virginia finally relented and signed on the proverbial dotted line. Doty claims that, quote, the Air Force kept track of Virginia. They took care of her in a number of different ways. I wasn't involved in any of that. I did part of the investigation, and that was it. My contract with her ended when she signed some security oath, non-disclosure agreements with the Air Force, and she never did talk about it, end quote. But though Virginia's personal fact-hunting odyssey may have ended, for her son Billy, who was just 13 when he watched his father being mauled to death by a mammoth mantis-like creature, his journey toward the truth was just beginning. According to Doty's video on UAMN TV, quote, Billy continued his quest for answers, and this is an ironic, unbelievable story that I'm going to tell you right now. Billy joined the United States Air Force in 1992 and became a security policeman assigned where? Nellis Air Force Base. Billy was reassigned to Groom Lake in 1995. His supervisor was a Master Sergeant Groh, as in Groh, who had been assigned to Groom Lake for over 12 years. One night, on a late shift, Billy asked Groh about the incident at Silverbow without telling him that his father was the one who was killed there. Groh told Billy about the incident. He related that the incident was classified but involved an escaped visitor. After a puzzled look on Billy's face, Grow explained that the U.S. government had visitors from other planets in captivity near the Papoose Lake complex, and that one of those visitors had escaped and killed a man. Billy, perhaps terrified by the answer he would receive, then asked his superior what had happened to the visitor. The master sergeant, who had been a part of the search for the quadriloid that terrible day, told him that the visitor had dragged the body back onto the base, after which it was deemed to be hostile, too hostile to live, so it was neutralized. Almost certainly visibly moved by the revelation, Billy then confided to his boss that, quote, "The man that was killed at Silverbow was my father."
That's convenient.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or is it a heart-rending, true moment from the annals of the conspiracy side?
No, yeah.
I mean,
Or is that super-duper fucking convenient?
It's even as a disinformation agent, putting that out makes me question you as a disinformation agent. Like, that's so...
If you were a fiction author, I would question you.
Yes,
at this
exactly.
point.
Like, really, he happened to get the post at the exact same base, and then he was like, "Oh, yeah, no, we've got fucking visitors everywhere."
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
like
man.
with the Air Force tracking them their whole
How
lives. You
the
didn't
Air
know her
Force
son
even let him near
joined
there?
the Air Force and
Yeah.
then post you to the fucking base.
Like, what the fuck? Then that man was my father, and you're like, "Oh no, we've come full circle, Billy." Like,
Yes,
it's
we
just,
have.
All right.
I'm so glad I didn't have to post any of those issues up because you guys have amply done so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Story and cinematically, awesome. Billy gets his revenge.
Well,
He just goes
Does
in
he?
the containment area. He like hits the whatever button. He like decompresses the whole thing. He's like, "Die, you bastard," and just fucking nukes it or some shit. I don't know.
you do know, of course, it's already dead, right?
The other one, he kills it.
Oh,
On,
you
kills it on principle.
Kill all quadriloids.
Yeah.
If that had happened, that I assure you would be the name of this pod. Kill all quadriloids.
Keep that.
yeah, no, I would just
Keep that.
release them all on the complex.
Oh, and be like, "Now you all will suffer the pain that I
Oh.
suffered."
It's not the quadriloid's fault. He didn't ask to get fucking
That's fair.
captured and fucking held.
He finds his friend, the other quadriloid from the other crash, and he's like, "You'll pay for your friend's sins." And he just goes full Punisher on him.
I mean, all of these are great cinematic options.
Didn't
Yeah, no,
happen.
you let him free on the complex.
I will
And then they
continue.
destroy the Earth.
There you go.
Credit.
Wow.
And they destroy the Earth.
Suffer with me.
And then all you see is the oncoming comet of werewolves, and you're like, a new dawn is
Wow.
risen.
And he just takes off on the pile of ships they have in the underground.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
he takes off,
fascinating.
destroys the Earth.
Man, we got a lot of good movies percolating here.
Son of a bitch, we do. And Dodie is fucking apparently, yeah.
Anyway.
Continuing, Robert.
Yes. Jody continued with the word continue. Quote, "Now just imagine what Master Sergeant Grow felt like hearing that information from Billy. Here's this horrible incident that had happened many years ago. He was involved in the search for the visitor, and now in 1995, Grow meets the son of the civilian that was killed. Master Sergeant Grow, and for the record, he doesn't refer to him ever as Grow. That's me simplifying it. He refers to him as Master Sergeant Grow every time, and I could not do that in good conscience.
That's a whole lot.
A lot. Was heartbroken and said how sorry he was for Billy's loss. Billy did visit the area near Papoose Lake called S-2 Annex. ... However, Billy never learned any more about the incident. He retired from the Air Force in 2012 and lives in Ohio." End quote. So, like a lot of real life situations, even though, again, all of this is way too convenient and way too dubious, it ends on a anticlimactic note, to say the least. To say the fucking least.
I mean, he's in Ohio. Yeah.
One can only hope, I add, that Billy got some kind of grim satisfaction knowing that the thing who'd ruined his childhood died only a short time after killing his dad. Knowing it was dead would be a dubious comfort, granted, one tinged with the tragic futility of violence begetting violence, but perhaps it was a comfort nevertheless. All this assuming any of this is true.
Right.
As for whether or not the military's termination of this sentient and involuntarily incarcerated entity was justified, on episode 10, season 26 of Cosmic Disclosure, an angered Dodie snapped, "They're disrespecting the human race here." We need a big Lou moment here. Hey, they're disrespecting the human race here. They're attacking us. This, however, was tempered by a moment of self-reflection wherein he put himself in the alien's shoes, quote, "I would be upset if that was me. If I went to another planet as an astronaut and I got captured and struck and then thrown in a container, I mean, yeah. Later in his interview with Tim, Doty said, "First of all, you have to put yourself in the quadaloid's place. It probably never encountered a vehicle or any other human other than the humans that were at the containment facility. So it was trying to escape. And the consensus of the investigating team, which includes a lot of people, I mean, it was probably 50 people in the investigation of this, it was a consensus of them and even myself that it was a self-defense act by the quadaloid." End quote. And perhaps it was. Maybe George was just in the wrong place at the wrong time and fell victim to a frightened and confused creature trapped on an alien planet, just doing its damnedest to escape from the heavily armed clutches of a bunch of hostile, hairless apes. I mean, who among us as kids, while watching Steven Spielberg's saccharine sweet 1983 box office bonanza E.T. the Extraterrestrial, didn't root for the titular alien to escape the gun-toting, hazmat suit-clad hands of the government agents tracking him down? And if you don't remember the guns, that's because you saw that shit in the reboot in 2000.
Yep.
They were armed to the teats. Still, we can't completely discount the fact that maybe it really was just a big evil bug. A misanthropic alien shitheel hell-bent on destruction who perhaps psychically drew George out of the car just so it could eviscerate him in front of his whole family and would have done the same to any other humans it encountered. Who knows? And though that query lingers long in the mind, the real question we're left with is this. Who is Richard Doty? Is he a one-man disinformation machine, a hustler with the right resume, the appropriate credentials, and just enough knowledge of ufology to be dangerous? Are we dealing with an old-school opportunist who's just trying to pad his meager retiree's income with TV and UFO conference appearances? Or worse yet, is he a plant, a disinformation agent still on the government payroll who is muddying the already murky waters of ufology with a dark combination of deceit and just enough truth to confound those closest to breaking through the nearly 80-year clamp of silence that has all but suffocated this issue? Or could he be, as some UFO disclosure advocates like Dr. Stephen Greer seem to believe, the real deal, a former OSI intelligence officer come man in black, trying to come clean and make amends for past offenses by telling the whole truth as he knows it, all the while doing his damnedest to make disclosure a reality? Stranger things have happened, but I can't help but to wonder if maybe it's not so black and white. Perhaps Doty is something even more insidious, a truly rogue agent, a man who, for reasons we can only guess at, tells the truth when it's convenient, lies when it suits him, and wraps the two together for his own amusement, knowingly telling conflicting stories that infuriate most, alarm some, and sway others, all the while triggering a chorus of empty, screaming voices in the asylum, read UAP subculture, already full of shrieking madness. Hell, maybe the truth's been right in front of us and he's been an alien all along, just cosplaying as a human being in the great big convention hall we call Earth. Whatever the reality behind this unique ufological persona may be, and I feel compelled to admit that even I'm on the fence with this one, though leaning pretty heavy one way after this Odyssey. I wrote this early. And now I'm like,
well, Mr. Doty.
I'm not so much on the fence as on one side of the fence. Richard Doty is undeniably a fine storyteller, one who can weave memories and perhaps fantasy in a straightforward, no-nonsense way that, no matter how bizarre the beats or outlandish the content, makes you believe it's just a simple recitation of facts. When he speaks, his tone is neither bombastic nor urgent, but even controlled, always confident, like a man who knows he's telling the truth. It's his gift and perhaps our curse. But when he opens up in his soft-spoken, matter-of-fact manner, regaling listeners with alleged real-life cases involving UFOs, aliens, and all manner of metaphysical mayhem, former Master Sergeant Doty is absolutely riveting. God damn him. As for the quadaloids, perhaps these chaotic creatures are akin to untamed animals en route to a zoo. escapees of a celestial ark that happened to land on our planet, who are acting the way any wild animal might that is injured, confused, and lost in unfamiliar environs, surrounded by potentially dangerous and to them completely foreign fauna. Or like any good urban legend, might these things not be involuntary inpatients being escorted to the cosmic equivalent of an institution for the criminally insane? Or cosmic fugitives whose prison transport following a tragic wormhole accident crashed on Earth, releasing these violent monsters on our unsuspecting world, driven neither by animal instinct nor violent madness, but cold, cunning intellect fueled by a cruel streak a mile wide? Again, who knows? But I, for one, who in principle loathes the idea of unlawful incarceration, hopes they've tightened up security at the S-2 Annex enough that no other innocent victims will ever have to find out.
Oh, Jailbreak Area 51 Part 3 Alien Aftermath.
Bastards.
Holy
Everyone's a bastard.
shit.
Everyone's a rat bastard. No heroes in this story.
I would like to know.
George
Well,
and
the
Virginia.
family. Yeah.
Billy and Denise.
I mean, Billy, clearly the ultimate hero, obviously.
Yeah, the surviving hero.
How did this thing escape?
How did this thing
They
fucking
never really even got to
How
it.
is there not like? Well, there's a hole. There's a hole in the wall.
Yeah,
It's
something
like,
stupid.
I don't
like,
understand.
oh yeah,
like, I
fucking
don't.
someone left the door open or
But then again, if they can control fucking metal and be invisible, why? How do they get captured?
Yes.
right, yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Or do they not know what's going on? And are they, or I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have to figure out how do they interact with Earth technology, because they can control allegedly electromagnetic fields,
Right.
and allegedly open the vault door and then manage to suppress the alarm
And be invisible.
and be invisible
So-
or look like other guards
Right.
and walked out, and then we're gone for 2 hours or a half hour, depending on fucking Doty's current testimony.
I'm really surprised he didn't come up with something for the escape.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised.
No,
that he
right. Like,
didn't.
how did? I
Like,
mean, I feel like that's.
I mean, the throwaway assumption is that they psychically control electric things.
right.
It crawled through a bunch of vents.
He brought you through the whole narrative,
Right.
to the point where you got Billy joining the Air Force to find his
Right, but he's just
father.
like, I know how they escaped. What,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
like, which
Like, what-
then again, I mean, if he's to be believed, which he's not, I do not believe Mr. Doty at all. Just
Okay.
putting that out there, I'm definitely an anti-Doty guy for sure. I mean, maybe he wouldn't have the information. You know, maybe it is part of the whole
He
classified
might, yeah.
thing.
No,
Well,
he
Well, you
might
can't.
not.
You can't not completely believe him. I mean, do you think the story happened? Do you think this is true in some fashion?
Or don't bear in
Right?
mind,
Like,
part of the core of this story. Well, all right. We're getting it all from Doty. So that has to
That,
be.
well,
that's
that-
what-
that's
that's
exactly
what I
it,
mean. So,
is
like-
coming from Doty.
All right, so
what parts of any do you
at some point
believe,
they say
then?
Virginia never told anybody, but there is information out there that indicates that she told somebody who revealed this at a UFO con in the
Okay.
late 90s, early 2000s. That little bit of corroboration might mean that again too, because bearing in mind like I painted like multiple pictures of him,
right.
flat ass liar for the government, a truth teller who can't wait to like make amends for all sorts of shit he's done wrong, and he's done some horrible shit in his career. But maybe like the third option being like a shadester, trying to supplement his own income, lying when it's convenient, telling the truth when you know it suits him. And could he be taking the core of a story that he heard that maybe he was never directly involved with?
Right.
He aggrandizes himself by being the senior agent in charge, taking pictures of the blood splatter, the whole 9 yards. But like he heard about this thing, and it happened to a woman named Virginia.
He just
ostensibly,
ran with it.
and he heard about the escape because he was part. Maybe he was one of the maintenance guys privy to the fucking rumor mill, but not one of the fucking people actively involved. Or maybe he was just on another case. Who the fuck knows? My point is, there still could be grains of truth to a quadriloid escaping and killing a civilian, and the government covering it up, without needing to rely on Doty's narrative.
Yeah, I could
especially if there is an
I can see
independent
that.
corroboration that came out in the late 90s, early
And if you
2000s.
could talk to Billy and you could talk to the
That's
wife.
the other thing. Like Denise, I think, is still alive. The little sister was 7 at the time. I
Right.
did the ages. They'd be in their like mid 50s.
Yeah.
They be not much different from us.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
if Billy and Denise are accurate names and Virginia and George are accurate names, I don't think it would take the legwork of fucking Sam Spade to figure out what their names are. And I think it would behoove industrious researchers to find them. Now, if they dead up did not want to talk about it, fine, respect their wishes.
Right.
It's their shit. Their life got fucked up, but it can't hurt to ask.
I almost wonder if Doty, by him coming out and doing this and saying this and putting it out there, if that's a way that he's silencing them. By he's putting the story out there, giving their names, doing this and doing that, and then they're like, shit, how are we supposed to talk about this now? Because he's got this information out and it makes them look like jackasses or something, you know?
Maybe.
I'm thinking about some weird, some weird conceptual spin that he would put on
or
it,
conversely, because I know, and listen, I don't blame you for being hella anti-Doty, but just playing devil's advocate, maybe he's giving them tacit permission to come forward by being the first to tell the story. So they won't look like complete assholes just coming out of the blue and telling a story that's utterly unbelievable. Now there's context in UFO lore for them to come and build on.
True.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, this isn't way back in the past to where there's wouldn't be a hospital record.
Right.
Or a police record of a phone call. I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be records.
They have to have that on paper somewhere. If somebody calls,
there, yeah,
even for something stupid, I'm assuming they have to document this.
I mean, local sheriff's
right?
office, very easily compromised, very easy to destroy things. Will often say,
sure,
well, this happened in '85. We don't keep files that long.
Right.
And when he was trying to get information, when Virginia was trying to get information from the Nye County police, they were like, oh no, the Air Force handled this because it happened on base, because they were told that the actual murder happened on base, even though they clearly saw the shimmering blood pools in Silverbow.
Yeah.
And so they were glad not to have paperwork. But when you're a sheriff's office, you know, in conjunction with a top secret military base, you know who washes your fucking back, and you will easily shut the fuck up.
Which I do get that.
At their behest.
I totally get that. I mean, you're compromised.
So there's every reason to think that
part
they're
of the problem.
Yeah, definitely. But that you aren't going to be forthcoming or even maintaining records about events like this. But the hospital, you think, might. And
I mean,
and if the names are correct, you'd think you could trace it down. I mean, how many Billies served at Groom Lake, served at the Nellis Test Range as a Air Force military police officer?
Right.
I mean, it seems like these records are a matter of public record.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the Air Force works. I don't know if you can just be like, oh yeah, can you tell me about and I don't know if they can give you that information or not.
Maybe FOIA requests are pretty easy. I mean, I don't think private. It's private that you were part of a military branch. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So all right. So all that aside, acknowledging that there should be ways to corroborate this, indeed, if you know you have the wherewithal to do so.
The goddamn Doty factor.
Yeah.
The goddamn
Doty factor. And assuming that maybe there's a core of truth beyond his insidiousness. I mean, what do we fucking make of this?
I don't, because it's hard.
Oh
yeah.
It's not easy. That's for sure.
No, and if the government does have these creatures locked up somewhere, I mean,
that makes perfect sense to me. By the way,
that totally makes sense to me that if they did have biologics, to use the Grush terminology,
right,
that they would keep them, secured.
You know what's funny?
Would think that you'd have a better security system.
It makes some of the scenes that made me cringe the most in Independence Day, which was having good old data. All of it, yeah. All of it was
most of it, yeah.
It's one of my least favorite, maybe my least favorite alien invasion film, because I'm charmed by most of them. It really is a shit show. But we're again, Data, Brent Spiner of Star Trek Next Generation was a crazed, long-haired scientist at Area 51, and they had these wide-headed fucking aliens since Roswell times, and they look a lot like the Trontoloids, at least were, or Trantoloids. I'm still fucking mispronouncing Tront. I guess Tront works too. Fucking, like, if that was like, for people that worked at Area 51, they're watching that movie and it's all a bunch of jingoistic fucking chutzpah bullshit, but they're like, oh shit, that rings true.
Yeah, that's
how fucking funny would that be? Because that's one of the scenes I particularly like. Oh, don't bring in Area. Oh, you fucking all right, fine,
dude. Soft disclosure. They're preparing us for the disclosure.
They have been for a long time. And why?
That's why it's soft.
I mean, is the Armada coming?
It's the softest.
It's the softest of disclosures. Let's make some movies and get them used to
We're
the
idea. We're going to do 150-year
of the
disclosure.
Yeah, dude. The start with George Washington
with
ass teeth.
We should mock it, and it is too long, and it is absurd. But, I mean, take it from the other perspective. What would our society be like now if it just was clamped and they didn't allow, like, just assume that the soft disclosure is a real thing.
Right.
Like, since the 1950s, since, before my mom was born, they have been making, movies like The Day the Earth Stood Still. I think that was one of the first key ones, and Earth versus the Flying Saucer and The Thing from Another World, yada, yada. We have grown up with just the notion. And then the Spielberg epic hit, first off, the epic hit of Close Encounters, which showed, like, if they weren't completely malevolent and they just wanted to, like, educate you, but they were still mysterious and a little scary.
Yeah.
And then E.T. that just made them totally at home and cool and loving kids.
Right.
Like, we live in a world where this is what we grew up in. And I mean, I don't know if I can't speak for you guys, I would be that interested in the phenomenon were it not for the pop culture antecedents, including, of course, like In Search of and Project UFO and other ostensibly real life iterations. So, I mean,
I don't know.
It has worked. If that's the plan, it really has worked profoundly well to set us up so that most of America, if a president came forward and said, listen, we have samples of aliens, we have ships that have crashed, as long as they're not saying like an armada is forthcoming, just like it's real.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think it would be panic in the streets as it might be under other circumstances. In fact, for most people, it would be like, wow, ain't that some shit? It's gonna like trend on Twitter or X or wherever else and fucking yada yada. But in the end, you still got to go to fucking work. You still got to fucking put 3 squares on the table. You got to fucking do your shit. You're gonna want to watch your shows. You're not gonna stop binging. You might stop binging it for a day or two and watch all the news.
I mean, that's until they talk about the quadriloid. Like, and here's a quadriloid, and like, fuck, now everything's changed.
Well, if it comes with the caveat that a certain amount of humans are allowed to be abducted by greys and Dulce Base has got body parts in there, they're not going to do that.
No.
Part of self-disclosure is that most of it's going to be disinformation.
Yeah, and Doty's going to still be there, his 80-year-old ass doing it.
I can't believe he's 80.
I know.
That motherfucker.
Dude.
I know.
If you've not seen Mirage Men, check it out. It will piss you off.
I went from being on the fence to seeing example after example of, and again, I don't know. Is he getting older and making mistakes? Right. Is he a bad liar? You motherfucker who've been doing it for a living for fucking decades. Or is he really just salting it with lies and truth constantly to keep fuckers guessing because his job and his paychecks are still signed by the OSI and it's to make sure nobody really knows.
Could just be a part of
But
his
also,
gig,
like, if your whole life is lies, we've all had this thing where, like, either if it's a song or something, you had a lyric in your head and then you learn to set something, but you really, that's just the lyric in your head and you think that that's the lyric in your head.
Oh, yeah.
Because you start believing the lie.
Yeah.
So at this point, I don't think he fucking knows.
That might be true.
He might be
what I mean?
caught in
What
his
actually?
Own, yeah, he's caught up in his own bullshit to the point that he's creating his own reality.
That might be letting him out easy, but it might really be the truth.
Yeah, well, mixed with being old is what.
80.
But like,
it's no fucking round.
No,
you can be a sharp 80, but you cannot be.
You can't get that many stories straight.
He has a shit record, a real shit record. So,
which again. Greer, you can take or leave. I think he's earnest, if arrogant as fuck. But like, dude, how can you not? Are you so just, hungry to have a real OSI agent coming clean that you refuse to just see the discrepancies?
That's how you sell more apps, dude. That's how you sell more apps.
And there's the problem. Is there a true believer besides the aforementioned Jeremy Corbell?
Oh, what was that?
Karate master.
Why is he called Karate Master?
Because he was he ran a dojo for years, didn't he?
Oh, I don't know. Did he? I hope he did.
I thought so. I'm pretty sure he was like a self-defense
I do
instructor.
like Corbellian.
I mean, it's good. I just hate it.
I love it.
It's a great, but I hate it.
I love Corbell.
Neptunian.
Dude, Corbell and Nap are my fucking. They're my.
I know they're your jam.
I do enjoy.
You have a 3-way with fucking Josh Allen.
Wow,
4-way.
It'd be a 4-way. Yeah, let's be honest.
Wait, Josh Allen, Jeremy Corbell, and you, George Knapp, and me.
Yeah. Josh Allen on top, clearly.
He's got to be, man. He's the Galaxy's best fucking quarterback.
Well, duh.
Clearly. Holy shit, that's funny.
So we don't know what to make of it. I think there might be a grain of truth there, and I think there's probably more than a grain of truth that Area 51 and perhaps the S-2 Annex and perhaps Site Alpha / Site 5 is where they were incarcerated.
Oh, for sure.
There's every reason to think that no matter how innocent you may be, if you fuck up and land on Earth, you don't get to just do what you want to do. That's not how we work.
No,
and
no,
I
that's
can't
why-
say
yeah,
I
yeah.
honestly blame them.
No, you're not going to be hanging out doing whatever you
Even
want.
though I think, like, morally, I think it's wrong. Intellectually,
Right.
I fucking get it.
You know,
That's the problem.
especially if it's a quadriloid, fucking dude. Of course, you can't let that thing.
You
roam
can't let that shit
around.
roam around.
It's gonna be burning shit down with acid left and right. Goodbye, goodbye Target. Goodbye Walmart.
Wow.
Good luck, Jeff Bezos.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all gonna fall apart. What are
Never
these
even thought about
fuckers?
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not.
With their weird little foreskin capes.
I mean, but there's every reason
Running
to
around.
assume some of them have landed, didn't crash, did not end up on the radar, and they're doing,
Other
whatever they're doing.
nefarious shit. Yeah.
Maybe they're not doing nefarious shit. Maybe they're just doing
You don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
working at said target.
Yeah.
Oh, because they got the whole psionic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look like peeps.
All right, man. Well, there it is. Fucking excellent series, dude.
Yeah, it was fun.
Seriously, fucking
pretty crazy.
awesome,
It's
dude.
pretty crazy.
Holy shit, it was great. I love that part 2 was so chaotic.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, my God. And
Well,
just
it's
fucking,
what's rare
it
that
was
we do.
cool.
Like things are usually chronological. This one was
Yeah.
like, here's the thing. Here's the prequel. Now here's part 3.
I love, dude.
Yeah,
That's my
'cause there was
favorite part.
more information
It's
came
so,
out.
It's,
Right.
it's what
so
happens when you're
scatterbrained. I
writing
love
on
it,
the
dude.
fly and
you
you
just get
never
more
get
info.
ahead.
Yeah.
It's so good though. I
So
love it.
so
It's
when
so
new
fun.
information comes, you have to present it. But I do sort of like that it was like all action first part, informative backstory second part,
dude, full fucking conspiracy Charlie Day.
switch to different characters and go back to action third
Oh,
part.
it was awesome, dude.
So yeah,
Excellent
that's
job,
the fucking
dude.
story, and watch out for an addendum someday and
Yeah.
more
We got
quadriloid
more
action,
quadriloid action, dude.
hot wet
Hell yeah.
quadriloid action
Dude.
for the masses. Quadriloid
Hell
after
yeah.
dark.
Awesome. All right. Well, there it is. Thank you for joining us. Robert, we got some shout outs to do for the good
Fuck
folks.
yes.
Support us over there.
Thing.
Patreon,
Best of the best.
patreon.com/Cryptonaut
Kings and
podcast.
queens, all. I just got to open it up now. Oh, I'm doing it. Don't worry.
No,
We're
you-
getting there. Real time.
You keep doing it. And also, too, while you're doing that, I'm going to give a quick update here. The Apple iOS thing has been resolved. Now, if you are in the iOS app and you go to check out, you do have the option to not pay through Apple Pay. So there is the option
Yeah.
to not get hit with a 30% charge.
Oh, so they're still charging, but you have the option right then and there.
Yes.
So- yeah, to
So
not
if
do
for
Apple
some
Pay.
reason you're like, I want to give extra money, I guess you can. You don't have to.
Right.
And
Well, and we're not getting it.
yes.
So I don't think we're
Not getting that charge.
Yeah.
And if anything,
You're
Apple,
just giving us Apple.
and Apple holds our money for like
And Apple
75 days.
Doesn't fucking need it.
No, Apple does not need it. So,
No.
but that has been resolved. So
Okay.
that's a good thing.
Resolved.
So, all right, Bob, are we ready?
Oh yeah. Beginning with. Oh, I'm loving these names this week. Horse Boyo.
Hell yeah, Horse
Oh,
Boy.
man.
Thank you so much.
Nick Howry.
Thank you so much, Nick.
Manuel S.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Jonathan Miller.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Chip.
Oh, shit. Chip, what up? Love
Off the old block.
it. Hell yeah.
Chip. J Frog.
What up, Jay Frog?
Yep, that is an FRAWGG. Frog.
What's happening?
Nick Minima. Yes, I got that
Hell
right.
yeah, Nick. We appreciate it.
Shaberly.
Sheberly. That's a fucking gorgeous name.
That is pretty.
Sheberly. It's so
oh my
fucking
god!
pretty.
I know it rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like I bought a single in the past.
Shit, same, dude.
Oh.
God damn. All right. I
like that.
love it. Sweet.
Oh, and not ending with the lovely, lovely names. OVL Mendoza.
Oh, shit, OVL. God damn.
Thank
Beautiful
you,
names.
one
Thank
and
you.
all.
And we appreciate that. Again, that is patreon.com/Cryptonaut
Our
podcast.
shit names
For
Fuck.
all your bonus audio and video content. You can check that out over there. We got the merch, theoldhellerspace.com. Check that out. All kinds of fun summer sales happening. We've got the Instas, the Twitters, the Facebooks, the socials of the medias. We're out there. We're doing it. DM us, like, share, comment. Check out our short form videos, and be sure to follow us on all those channels for updates, news, and happenings that go on. And of course, cryptonautpodcast.com.
Yeah.
We have a website.
We do.
I recently updated it with some new listener merch, which is super dope. We appreciate you folks out there buying the merch and send us a pic.
Yeah, please send us a pic. If you buy the merch, send
It's
us
super
the pic.
awesome. Yeah, no, for sure. And we'll put it on the website.
We love that shit.
So yeah, man, there it is. Thank you all so very much. I apologize again for my shitty, garbagey voice, and we'll be talking with you soon.
Oh my.
Oh shit, that was my doty.
Give him a little taste of the CB mark.
Oh, you want CB?
I need a little
you want
CB
to
mark.
get CB
Oh,
mark?
boy.
Hold on one second. I don't know if did Chris know about CB mark?
I don't know. He might
No,
have
you
been
were doing
in
it
the
when
facilities.
when I was back.
So this is originally how I believe Rob wanted me to read the intro. I'm actually just zooming in so I can see, because not only can I not breathe, I can't fucking see.
That's fair.
Here we go. Jeez. After a hostile alien escape from Area 51's alleged impenetrable S-2
No, a
Annex.
little more southern, bro.
Oh, sorry. The military, police, and elite search and containment units were put on red alert.
That's the shit.
While these teams were in pursuit of this insidious insectoid, a part of the OSI agents were hot on their trail, doing their best to cover up the enigmatic events that had happened. All the while, tragedy waited in the wings.
Oh my God.
Did I
dude.
do? Did I?
You were meant to be the Marlboro man.
I fucked that up. But did I turn into like Sam Elliott at one point?
Oh, maybe.
Was
yeah.
I like, what the hell was Patrick Swayze's name in Roadhouse?
I'm ashamed of myself.
Yeah, fucking Bodie. No,
No, Point Break.
That was Point Break.
The hell was his name?
Listen here, Bodie.
Doyle? No.
No, it was like Bongo or some shit.
Yeah, it was.
It was something
I
stupid.
had it and then I said Doyle.
Yeah,
Fuck.
what that?
All right.
It wasn't Dealer. I was like Doc or some shit.
Wait a minute, hold on. we can't wait. Hold on.
Duck and Hawk.
John Danks.
We can't fucking. It's something like that. Hold on, Roadhouse.
Dalton?
We can't.
Dalton.
Dalton.
It's
yeah.
100% Dalton.
Dalton. Wait,
Right?
Is it? Oh shit, I don't know.
Oh, it's
man.
definitely Dalton.
It is, right?
Has to be.
I don't know.
Because
Is
Goo
it?
almost named Hunter Dalton her first child, my little sister, because she fucking respects Roadhouse as we all do.
I don't know, man. Hold on. I
It
can't.
is Dalton.
I can't leave.
I
on
would-
this.
Yeah,
Set on.
I'm pretty confident in that, but
89.
89, yes.
James Dalton.
James Dalton.
there we go.
James Dalton.
JD.
There it is.
There's your fucking corner.
yeah. Goddamn. Patrick Swayze.
I probably won't. I will never watch the remake. Not that I
No,
dislike
I
Jake
can't
Gyllenhaal,
watch that,
but I
no.
mean, come on, that is a slice of
That's a
late
that's a
80s
vibe.
perfection.
It's a different vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's roundhouse
I mean,
kicking everybody
maybe.
into the river.
I'm sure it's
Come
fine.
on.
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not even
Whatever, dude.
I'm not even such a purist. It's not even like I watch Roadhouse often. It's just what it is in my mind, and it needs to remain.
it needs
It
to
has
stay
to
that
stay,
way. Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
It has to stay.
All right.
We're talking to you soon.
Fuck
All right,
yeah.
I'm shutting this off.
Peace
Goodbye,
out.
good night.
Bye.